Yeah, so today we've got a big episode. Well, big in terms of topics. So we're gonna answer some of the most common questions from the 30-day Carnivore challenge that Anthony and I run. So the big topics are cramps. Why are you feeling tired? We're going to talk about alcohol and socializing, and we're going to talk about priming, which is one that's really helpful and a lot of people are talking about. So Anthony, let's get straight into the first topic, which is cramps. So a lot of people complain they're getting cramps like when they're sleeping or during the day or whatever. What's the best way to overcome this?
Yeah, I mean, the common thing is that people say, "Oh, your electrolytes." There's no real reason why you should have your electrolytes really unbalanced when you're on a carnivore diet, as opposed to a normal diet, and certainly as opposed to a normal diet, because you really are getting everything that you need, and you should not have to supplement. You might be in a particular situation where maybe you do, but that's quite uncommon. And maybe when you're transitioning, possibly you could your bodies are sort of figuring things out. Maybe, but these are theoreticals. Quite often people will take a lot of electrolytes. They'll take the magnesium and potassium and things like that. When we see people in the hospital with potassium issues, low potassium, we really don't see them having a lot of cramps. They have heart arrhythmias. That's the issue with potassium, like it messes with your heart. Magnesium, sure, actually, when people actually do get, cramps in the hospital, that's something we do look for. Like, okay, what's their magnesium? What's their calcium? Because those things, when they're too low, they can actually cause cramping. So those shouldn't be out of balance, though. They shouldn't be out of whack on a carnivore diet. But you can experiment with that. But what a lot of people find is that they'll take a lot of electrolytes, they'll up their salt, they'll do all this sort of things. And they'll ask me, I'm taking all these electrolytes, I'm taking magnesium, I'm taking calcium, I'm taking potassium, I'm doing all this salt, putting salt in water, drinking ocean water, and all these sorts of things. I'm still getting cramps. It's just like most commonly cramps are from dehydration, just not getting enough water. And so, and especially if you're already supplementing, you're just giving yourself a ton of electrolytes and you're still getting cramps. Well, it's obviously not the electrolytes, because you covered that, that base, and now, it's something else. And so generally, people say, oh, well, I put some salt in water and I drink a lot of water, drink that. And then it gets better. It's like, yeah, but was it the salt or was it the water?
Exactly.
In most cases, it's going to be the water. And so that's what I suggest to people is like, really increase your water. And I still get, leg cramps. I've always, gotten leg cramps if I get dehydrated. I'm playing a game, I don't get enough water, and I'm just running around, high physical exertion. And then that night, I'm just waking up and just screaming cramps. And I drink a bunch of water and they go away. Now I'll get that. I go to the hospital and I'm there for 16 hours. I don't drink water at all. And I, get home and, I don't get enough. And then I feel foot cramps, leg cramps, and things like that. Drinking enough water gets rid of that. I don't take any electrolytes or anything like that. Some people may need to, like if you have a legitimate sort of depletion, people that drink a lot of coffee, what is that going to do? That's going to sap you magnesium and it's going to dehydrate you. 2 big points in cramping. So these people may get a lot of cramps. Maybe they do need to take some magnesium in that case, but they also need the water. And really, what they need to do is
stop
cut
drinking
out the caffeine and the coffee. So that's the big one. Is really if you're getting those leg cramps, electrolytes maybe, but really remember water, because that's a major one.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people will say, "Oh, my potassium, my calcium, or my magnesium are low." And then we will sort of come back and we'll say, well, do you have any symptoms? No, I feel fantastic. And then I'm kind of thinking, well, are they really low, or are they kind of low to some sort of standard measurement that doctors have, and you've done a blood test and you think they're low? Like, for example, with potassium, is it actually common to have low potassium, or is that an issue?
Well, we'll see in the hospital sometimes, it crops up. But and a lot of medications can screw with your potassium or your sodium. Sodium has a lot to do with hydration as well. You can overhydrate, and if you're, sensitive to these sorts of things, you can sort of deplete some of your sodium, but you really have to work at it. You really have to work at it.
Yeah.
And
drinking water is safe, right?
Drinking water is safe, yeah. Especially if you're drinking to thirst. I mean, you can force yourself to do anything, and then that's not a good thing. And eventually drinking water will kill you. They've done studies in this back when it was ethically possible to do that. You just put a hose down, rabbits' throats and just fill them up with water, and they just see how much water it takes before their cells actually start to go into dysfunction and go into organ failure because they have so much water in their body. And so you extrapolate that out to an animal our size, and it's about 50 gallons. Okay. So I don't know of anybody who's going to be doing that anytime soon. No. But it's possible, but if you're drinking to thirst and you're not forcing yourself or anything like that, but it's just the water you're drinking is like, yeah, this is good. This is refreshing. You should be fine. You shouldn't have any issues with that.
Okay. Awesome. Everybody drink more water.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the bottom line. You're not going to do any damage. Yeah. Just drink more water. It'll help your cramps. You don't need that salt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if you're eating more salt, you're actually going to increase your body's desire for water as well. So take home is just drink more water. Everyone will likely benefit from drinking more water. People don't realize just how good it is, and they feel a lot better when they start getting more water.
Awesome. Next one. A lot of people talk about feeling awkward when they're socializing and they're doing carnivore. And, they know they shouldn't drink. And even saying they're not drinking can be awkward around some people. Do you, what are your tips and what's your advice for people about socializing when they're doing carnivore?
Yeah. I mean, the main thing is just get out there and socialize, because if you avoid situations where you're always going to be avoidant of those situations, you're always going to be uncomfortable in those situations. When I first stopped drinking during the rugby season, well, really it was when I was on medications, because I had pneumonia, and it was right in the middle of a rugby season. And I'm like, I can't drink on these things. It's just stopping it from working. And so I went like a full month without drinking. And normally that's a very big part of rugby. And it's something I really enjoy, that social aspect, going out and drinking. And so I still went out after the games, but I wasn't drinking. And the first time I went out, I hated it. I just felt so awkward and uncomfortable. Everyone was drinking and I wasn't. I felt like the odd man out. Looking back at it, like no one cared, but I really felt it. And then, but I got through it. The next week, same thing. I really didn't like it, but it wasn't as bad. The third week, it was neutral. I didn't really care one way or the other. It was like, oh, okay. Fourth week, I actually enjoyed myself more. I was having more fun. I was letting loose. I was still, just having fun, making jokes, disinhibited. Now everyone's drunk. I can laugh at them. I was able to drive home. I wasn't blowing $200 at the bar, and I have like an absurd tolerance. Like even if I don't drink for like 2 years, it will still take me like 15, 20 drinks to get going, And so, I mean, that's just a lot of poison in your body, just for very little, gain on that. And so I much prefer that now. And so it's just getting used to that. And it's just acclimatizing yourself to being in those social situations. And then you don't care. The whole point of alcohol is it's a social lubricant. You can be your own lubricant. It just makes you feel like, oh yeah, I don't care. I'm just going to have fun. You can just have fun anyway. So, but it's just a conditioned response. You can you will get used to it. So I just encourage people to get out there and go to bars, go to clubs, go to coffee shops, go to whatever.
Yeah.
And just drink water, and the more you do that, the more you'll get used to it and the more you'll actually enjoy it. Because they can still be fun social settings. The health benefits are dramatic. I mean, the reason that I kept, my own personal prohibition on alcohol during the season was because during that month, I just hit all new levels of athletic performance and fitness. It was just night and day, just blew me away. And I was like, okay, well, I need to try this just for the rest of the season. I had the best season of my life. I'm like, right, I'm just not drinking during rugby anymore. And now, I still, every now and then if I drink, I'll drink like spirits. So again, you're still trying to cut out as much stuff as you want, so it's like, it's like you're drinking coffee or you want to take a caffeine pill. I'd rather take a caffeine pill because I want the caffeine. I don't want the 100,000, 150,000 other chemicals in coffee. I just want the caffeine. So it's again with the alcohol. If I want to drink, which is rare for me, maybe once every year and a half, something like that. something will be worth it to me enough that I'm like, okay, I'll do that. I'll just drink sort of spirits, right? Wine has a lot of crap in it. Beer has a lot of crap in it. And, what I want is, the booze. And
Yeah,
so,
the fun feeling of being
yeah,
drunk.
exactly. And so, and that's what I want. And so, when I do that though, again, I have a stupid high tolerance, but the next day I won't be hungover, I won't feel horrible, I'll feel a little tired or whatever, as you would. But I noticed that my exercise tolerance and my energy levels are screwed for 3 full weeks afterwards. And so when I do these crazy workouts, that I occasionally do, where I'm doing like 20 sets of bench, 20 sets of shoulders, 20 sets of squats, all these sorts of things, I can't wear myself out, and I feel great doing it the whole time. Then the week after I drink just one time, and I'm not even hungover the next day. All of a sudden I get up to 6 sets and I'm like, I just feel miserable. I just want to get the hell out of here. Most people stop at 3 sets. So maybe they're not noticing how much it's affecting them. But for me, feeling amazing at 20 and now feeling like crap at 6, that's a big difference. The next week, maybe I'm doing 8 or 10 sets. The next week, maybe I'm doing sort of, 15 sets, and then just like, I'm cashing out. And then it's like the 4th week that I get up to 20 and I'm like, okay, thank God that's over. Where it's like, normally I get to 20, I'm like, oh, I really don't want to go, because I'm feeling so amazing as I'm doing it. So it really has a much bigger effect on people's body and their health than they think. And that's so something that is, is good to find out, as you just sort of stop that and to see how much better you feel. And then you can see the contrast, if you were to have some drinks. But, when you're doing this again, just get out there, just be social. When you fall off a horse, best thing you do is get right back on. So, get out there, see people, get used to it, and you'll get more comfortable in those social settings.
Yeah, and you'll realize that people really don't care, and they're not looking at you. Like for example, I was at a work thing today, and like morning tea, the sweetest like sugary pastries you have ever seen come out, and like everyone just sort of like gravitates towards them, and I was just like, hell no. And I was there having like literally a cup of boiling hot water, which I'm enjoying at the moment. And no one said a thing.
Yeah.
No one even asked, like, do you want one? I was just like, fuck no, I'm not having like, that donut at 10 a.m.
No, dude, no one gives a shit.
No one gives a shit.
That's the thing. Like when I started doing this, back in my early 20s, no one once was just like, what, you don't eat bread? You don't, no one, not a single person said anything about it.
People just get over it. They just care about themselves mainly.
Yeah, but that's it. Well, it doesn't even come up. You just don't say anything, and it's fine. Sometimes with the drinks, oh, why don't you have a drink, this, that, and the other? It's like, oh no, I'm just, I'm taking some time off booze. I'm just on the wagon for a while. Or I'm in training. I'm starting a new fitness program, so I'm just laying off.
I think with drinking, that's always worked for me. It's like, if you're in a busy period where you really want to get something done, it's like, fuck, I'm not drinking right now. I got a huge day tomorrow. I got too much happening.
Yeah. Well, and you also just say, be like, oh no, I'm not much of a drinker, or something like that. People go, oh really, aren't you? And then it's just, and that's it. That's the end of the conversation. It's generally, you never have another conversation about that. It's just like, it's like, oh really, don't you? It's like, yeah, I'm just on a health kick. I just like how like avoiding it. And one was like, oh okay, yeah. Most people don't care. And so especially if it's your friends, your friends and family and things like that, they're not going to give a shit. And unless they've got a serious alcohol problem, then they try to encourage other people to drink around them, so they don't feel as guilty about it. But by and large, people that just don't care. So don't care yourself, and just get out there and experience life and experience these social situations, and then you'll come to realize pretty quickly that you don't need alcohol to do that.
Hell yeah. Okay, next one. Priming. Anthony, what is priming?
Yeah, so priming is an idea that I came across recently from Bella Steak and Butter Gang and some of the coaches on her channel that sort of asked me what I thought about and sort of told me about it. The idea is that if you're just starting carnivore, that you just sort of eat sort of 3 meals a day, and you eat until you're full, like what is they call it, like Thanksgiving full each time,
Really
just
full.
so you can, yeah, exactly. Just so you're really getting to a point where you're just like, yes, this is as much as I want and no more. But again, want is the key word there. Don't force feed yourself anything. And you do that for 2 weeks. And what does that do? That allows you to, in my view, I was asked about it, like what I think of it. And what I think of it is that it can be helpful to really put that awareness of actually how much your body wants, because your hunger signals change so dramatically on a carnivore diet. And it's very, you just don't feel hungry in the traditional way. And I talk about this in a lot of videos, but when you're eating carbohydrates, that raises your insulin blocks leptin then is not able to reach your brain and tell your brain that you have a lot of fat stores and you don't need to eat anymore. So your brain thinks, oh my God, I'm starving, I need to eat. And there's other things going on as well, but basically it just deranges your hunger signals. And so you constantly feel like you're starving. You're not starving. You are, you have more than enough energy. Like most people are overweight. They clearly have enough energy and they're not starving. They're not going to die if they don't eat that day, or, any day that month, but that's what they actually feel. And so it causes you to overeat. You don't get that same sensation on a carnivore diet. And so, it's very easy to undereat. And I did that when I was in my 20s. I just never felt hungry. And I was just like, I know I'm not eating enough. I can't possibly eat enough, but I'm just not hungry. I don't know what the hell is going on. And, so that's the thing. You have to relearn your hunger signals. And so it's not something I've tried myself, but it is something that, some people have said, hey, this really helped me. And I think that it could help you, help gauge your hunger signals and make sure that you're eating enough, at least let you see like, okay, this is how much my body actually wants. One caveat with that is, sort of leading into sort of the low energy side of the discussion, is that after you eat, especially when you eat till you're full, this, signals your body to go into a rest and digest mode. You're like, at first your body's giving you a lot of energy because you need to go out, you need to make a kill, you need to go hunt, you need to go get energy, you need to go fight and work for your supper. Then you get your supper and you fill up and your body goes, right, slow it down, calm down, conserve energy. Let's rebuild, repair, and, and not just throw away energy. So you can actually feel quite lethargic. This is why I tend to eat later in the day after I work out. I never train on a full stomach. And on the rare occasions that it just happens like that I end up eating before I work out, I have a terrible workout. I just don't. I'm just like, oh, yeah, exactly. So you want. For me, I always train on an empty stomach. I always play on an empty stomach. I always play hungry. That was it. I was just like, I had that killer instinct. I need to go, kill a mammoth, wrestle a bear, something like that. And like, that's sort of what I, mindset and biochemical state I wanted to be in. That's how I thought about it anyway. And then when you eat, you're sort of changing that. So just be mindful that, if you're eating, a lot throughout the day and you're eating big meals, that can make you a bit lethargic. So priming can help, tell you how much you're eating. You could do that otherwise. I sort of just try that in the evenings, just getting as much as you can eat and sort of testing it throughout the day. You could do that as well. And if it tastes good, then your body's asking for food. But I think that priming is very helpful for some people. And so it's just another, tool in the toolbox of something that you can think about if you think that you're not getting enough food and you're not eating enough.
Yeah, totally. I got to say, it's also really good for cravings. So if you feel like, cravings coming on, like a lot of people who do our challenge, they're coming off caffeine and they're coming off artificial sweeteners, and they can get some bad cravings. And I've found myself, when I'm sort of really craving something that I know I don't want to eat, if I then just go and load up on more meat or more eggs, or more water, lots of water, like it really does, it kills the cravings. And yeah, like obviously you can feel a bit uncomfortable when you overdo it on the meat, but that pales in comparison to overdoing it on carbs. Like being stuffed, Thanksgiving stuffed, like I'd argue that you feel like crap and you're super sleepy after Thanksgiving, mainly because you've eaten like shitload of potatoes and veggies and chips and all sorts of stuff and drinks. Obviously you do feel a bit stuffed and a bit full after a lot of meat, but it's just, in my experience, it's nowhere near as bad as when you've loaded up on carbs. Like, you know, like when you eat like a massive bowl of pasta, like as a kid, I can remember doing that, like spaghetti bolognese, and you're just eating this huge thing of pasta, and then you're on the couch and your whole stomach is like swollen. You know, never as bad as that with meat.
No, I think the most full, like painfully full I've ever been, it was only to a place like the Spaghetti Factory in Seattle.
Oh man.
And it was like $7 for like as much pasta you could. I'm like, that's crazy. And so I ate a lot of pasta, and which sucked because I went to like a, you know, like a house party after that. And it was like a bouncy house and like a hot tub and like all these different like, you know, things like that. And I'm just like, and I was just like, no, I can't do any of this shit. It just like, I was just a lump the rest of the night.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah, it's funny. But yeah, you're right. Like for the craving side of things, you know, that's something that, you know, Dr. Baker says is that, you know, people say, well, how much should you eat? And he said, you know, eat enough so that you don't have cravings, you know, you don't have like carb cravings and sugar cravings. And I think that, you know, that's something that when you have like carb and sugar cravings, sometimes it's just your brain saying, hey, you need energy, eat something, idiot, you know? And so then that's something that it remembers. It just says, hey, carbs, quick energy, get it, you know, get something. But so just think about that as, you know, your body's been telling you that it's hungry and you haven't been seeing the signals, and now it's giving you, you know, now it's sending out signal flares, you know? And so it's just like, hey, get it done. And so fine, you're hungry, eat something, eat meat, right?
Yeah, totally. All right. So segueing into the last one, which is why you're tired. A lot of people feel really fatigued, particularly in the first week or two of doing carnivore. And they can't work it out. They're like, aren't I supposed to have such amazing energy? And then they have other people telling them they feel incredible because, you know, they could go all day on carnivore. What do you think the main reasons are why people feel tired?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's certainly one of them is the timing of their meals. A lot of people are used to, you know, breakfast being the most important meal of the day, and eating lunch and work and all these sorts of things. And so they're eating a lot of food all, you know, right at the beginning of the day. And your bodies are just going like, yeah, let's just chill out. We got our food. We don't, why waste it? You don't need to go get more food. We have food. And so, you know, just chill out. You know, we're living in a modern world with ancient genetics. You know, our genes have not really changed, you know, all that much for the past 300,000 years or so. So, you know, we need to be appreciative of that. And so, you know, 300,000 years ago, you get a big meal, your body just goes, we don't need to do anything. The whole purpose was to get food and procreate. I mean, that's basically it, you know, when in the animal world. And so obviously we have more, you know, facets and aspects to our lives now, but that's basically what it comes down to biologically. And so, you know, when you're giving your body these biological signals, you're going to have a biological response. And so that's one thing, is just thinking about that. And so when people are sort of eating big meals throughout the day and they're getting lethargic, you know, that's something to think about, is, you know, maybe eat your big meal at the end of the day, you know, after you've done all your things, and see how that goes, and see if you have more energy throughout the day, and just sort of drinking water throughout the day. And, you know, if you're starving or whatever, you can eat. What I do when I'm working out a lot, my body does want me to eat more, and I can't get it all in one meal. And so I may eat during the day, but I'm careful, because if I eat until I'm full, you know, I'll just be pretty low energy at work, at least for the first few hours, and then you know, I'm just not as you know, on point as I would like to be, and then I'll eat again that night as well. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to eat sort of like half as much as I may want, and not completely stuff myself, and just still keep giving me that edge. So I give my body something that it wants, but my body's like, oh, okay, it's not enough yet. We still got to go. So that's one thing. Also, you know, like getting, you know, fat adapted and things like that. This takes sort of a varying amount of time. Some people, you know, for me, it was just right away. Like I just felt awesome. You know, day one, you know, I just felt better and better and better, you know, every day that I did this. And that's not the same for everybody. You know, it takes a varying amount of time. It can go from days to weeks, generally not more than weeks. But that can be another thing. And then, you know, so that's just something you just have to wait out, and you just have to see. The other one is,
and like you might feel crummy, you might feel really low energy, and you're kind of like craving like a bit of sugar, but you kind of do need to just keep eating and wait it out.
Yeah, just keep plugging away. You know, you will get through that episode, that period, and it's not all that long. You know, it doesn't take all that long. And you know, the one is like not eating enough fat. You know, everyone goes like, well, I must be eating enough fat, because basically I'm eating, you know, twice as much fat as I've ever eaten in my entire life. So, to them, it's a significant amount of fat. But it's not always enough, like I eat just ungodly amounts of fat now compared to my, former life. When I would be cutting the fat off meat and drinking skim milk and things like that. And, I don't drink milk at all anymore, but if I were to, it would obviously be full fat. And, so it's something that you just have to be aware of. And what I obviously tell people is that if your stools are dry and hard, then by definition, you're not getting enough fat, because it's that excess fat that spillover effect, that's going to spill out into your stools. That's going to give you soft stools. That's going to make it so you don't have constipation and hard stools. And so what that means is you're saturating your body. You're absorbing everything your body is able to absorb, and then some. And then so that's how you can gauge if your body's really getting all the fat that it actually wants to absorb. And so that's something to think about as well. And obviously this gets sort of muddled because people can be still drinking coffee or using artificial sweeteners, both of which will give you loose stools. And so that can sort of
it confuses the
exactly. So you
ratio,
can't you can't exactly tell as well as you would be otherwise. And so try to avoid that. Also just withdrawing from caffeine, like you're not gonna be as great, but that's very transient. I mean, that's just like a few days or a week at the most, and then you start feeling much better after that.
Just to hammer home the consuming fat comment, we've talked before about, like, a lot of people do well on getting 70% of their calories from fat. And so that means that if you were to order mince from the butcher or ground beef, you'd be getting 50-50.
Yeah.
Now, most ground beef is 85-15. Yeah. So put that into perspective, 50-50. So it will look quite white because half of it is fat. Yeah. And most butchers, you have to ask them to make it custom for you. And normally they would just ground up a brisket or a chuck. They got to actually add extra fat in there as well. So that's like the ideal ratio.
Yeah. So it's something to shoot for anyway. So, to have that idea in your head, it's way more fat than you're going to
exactly. Have that idea in your head and try and work out what works for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but that's it. Aim for that, and you should aim for that and realize that it is that much fat. And then, just, stop drinking coffee, stop using artificial sweeteners, and then you can gauge based on your stools, and then you can sort of see, like, I don't know exact percentage that I get, but I do know how to sort of adjust it as I go, and I do sort of know how much that my body generally needs and wants. If I'm eating sort of ribeye, should be fine. If I'm eating New York's, probably have to add some butter on it and things like that. That's usually how that goes, and then lastly, it's again, back to water. No one drinks enough water, and so they're tired, and you get your body's just not going to work right. It's just not, especially, in the hotter months, people are just not getting enough water, and they just don't, they're not going to function as well. They're not going to function properly. I noticed when I was playing rugby, I remember, I always felt much better when I was really hydrated, like sort of like 2 gallons a day. That was sort of my sweet spot. And I couldn't really do more than that anyway, but like, that's how I really felt good on that. And so with that, I remember I was coming into the season. I'd sort of missed the first few weeks because of something, I don't even remember. And so I was behind the 8 ball. And so I was getting in there. I was basically back for like 1 week, and then I had a game that weekend. I'm like, okay, I'm like really out of shape. I'm not gonna be able to play very well, but I can do something about my hydration. So like that whole week, I was just drinking 2 gallons of water a day, every day. And I just made sure I got 2 gallons a day. And that weekend, I was just running around. It was fine. I was just like, geez, I didn't realize I'm actually in great shape. I'm just running around, not getting tired. Everything's fine. And so I'm like, I must be, more awesome than I thought I was. And like, the next week I was just, like all happy with myself and my fitness level. And so I just sort of wasn't as strict with it. I was drinking about 1 gallon a day. That next game, now I've got, 2 weeks under my belt and a game, and just felt like crap. Just absolutely, I was just dragging. I was just like, oh my God, I was just breathing heavy. My whole body was, just heavy and lethargic. I'm like, oh my God, that's terrible. So I was just like, so for me, I banged it up to two gallons of water a day after that. And it was just, and just felt fantastic again. Makes a big difference. Obviously, you're doing sort of high intensity sports, you'll see a more direct result and impact on your performance, but it's going to affect your performance and how you feel in your energy levels, regardless of what you're doing. If you're just working in an office versus high intensity exercise, it just makes a big difference in your energy levels.
Totally. Drink more water. It's free. It comes out of a tap in your house.
Yeah, I know Australia is this is just a giant desert, but you still do have water here.
You got water, believe it or not. It rains sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So so that would be my suggestions for that.